Artist Journal, September 26th, 2022, Berlin. My name is Adrian Pocobelli. I am back. Let me just expand this here. There we go. It's so much fun to do this. You know, it's effortless. I do get suggestions of, oh, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. The key is, though, for me, to do this regularly, and I don't expect everybody to watch every episode, because who has that kind of time? Unless you love art and what's going on in NFTs, then this is your show, or at least on Tezos, or one of your shows. But the reason I can do this is because it's basic. I don't want to call it effortless, but it's almost effortless. I take about, throughout the day, I just sort of file away the images, and then I take about 10 minutes beforehand to sort everything out and, press record, basically, down a coffee and press record. So anyways, welcome back. There's a lot to get through. Some interesting discussions. I almost uncomfortable discussions a little bit today. So here we go. So let's get into those. Rat Cloaksy has a new work, a very interesting work. He released on Foundation, and we'll take a look at, actually we can look at that right now. As you can see, it's on Foundation here. In other words, Ethereum. So I believe it's his first, let me just look here, Foundation debut, Paradiglypse. There you go. You had to have the die in there. Paradiglypse. The world is ended as if it had never been. Let the race of Adam and Eve take warning. C.S. Lewis. I like this literary stuff as far as just, quick aside, in a sense, literature, quote unquote, literature has been divorced somewhat from the visual arts in the last 70 years, let's say since post-World War II, or let's say the 60s. You don't see a ton of influence in the way that, Gertrude Stein and Picasso were hanging out in the early 20th century, and, Picasso doing portraits of Gertrude Stein. What I hope to see with NFTs and the whole digital art revolution, as I'm calling it, I'm sure other people have called it that too, is a return to that more cross-pollination of ideas between, for lack of better terms, writing and painting, writing and the visual arts. Because there are so many common threads, and, surrealism is back. I was reading an ArtNet article. Surrealism is hot, and not just this what we call classic surrealism, like Magritte and everything, like newer artists who are being surreal, and we could definitely put this work in that category. People our age and younger want work that's kind of surreal. At least that's one of the stories you're reading out there. By Katya, I can't remember her name. I should know. I think she's working for ArtNet, the art detective. So she just put out a story maybe a week ago. So anyways, so in that context, here's this new work by Rat Cloaksy on Ethereum, the debut on Foundation. So we see a Lucas Cranach type Eve figure, and I will, with that kind of really interesting blue that he was doing in the Kafka piece, which we saw on Tezos. And so that is back. And again, the Kafka stuff is back. And I assume that is, and again here, it looks like a kind of a tarantula type thing. And I'll just show you, see the Eve figure here. I brought it up. You can see it looks like a direct appropriation of this image here. And I actually like that. Again, to me, that gives work credibility because it's quoting the tradition. You see here, it looks like it's been flipped. Look at the arms here that are below. And then you go here, arms below, like it looks almost like perfect. Yeah, so that is the one. I think we could say. And maybe there's another one taken from another Adam and Eve. It looks like oranges, interestingly. Let's actually open this up and zoom in. So interestingly, I mean, I never really noticed that. It looks like oranges, complementary color to all these blues, interestingly, as well. And then these kind of somewhat haunting yellow eyes. And your classic sort of square pixel work here in Paradylips. Welcome to Paradylips. And so it's interesting to see how these themes are developing here. Let me just fix this window a little bit here. Are those Crocs? So some interesting footwear here. Almost a bit of a AI, looks like AI influenced fashion. Or again, like we have a bunch of fashion geniuses here on the Tezos network. This looks like there's some AI in here. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but really nicely rendered. And it looks like this orange has turned to blue and is covering over our haunted figure, who looks like this is a self-portrait of sorts with Loco, Rat Cloaksy here. And let's just go to the corner here, a car on fire, and an ad, Vault Boy, these same yellow eyes on the tiger. So, and again, I love these flat blue skies, these flat digital blue skies. The contrast of these kind of airbrushed figures and just airbrush grass here with this flat road. So anyways, some really nice contrast. So cool work by Rat Cloaksy here. What is the title? Oh yeah, Paradylips. Okay, so let's see how it does. Let's just look. So listed for 1.5 ETH. Okay, so off we go. Let's see what happens there. Continuing on this Ethereum thing, again, these uncomfortable questions that hey, I don't really, I'm on both. I'm not tribal on these things, but I think it's still like, as a collector, I'm very uncomfortable. Like, oh no, and I guess the source of the discomfort is, well, if Myth goes on super rare, first of all, I think it would be a kind of a sensational event in the digital art world, just because of the nature of super rare, the prominence of it. Jim Carrey is on it and all this sort of stuff, which could be an argument against super rare in some respects, right? It's like it's gone too far in this kind of mainstream route, some people might argue. I think people have argued that with, say, the Jim Carrey thing. Again, I'm just ambivalent. I mean, the art is the art. So who cares in a sense? But I think these kind of moves are interesting. And yeah, what would that, as a collector, can you afford Myths on super rare? And maybe what you do is he releases on both. I mean, I release on both and I like it that way. And they both kind of have their different kinds of markets, So Joe Rogan replied here, it was in my dream, Mito. And then look here, the trip to ETH will begin soon. So, ever evolving here. And this is also something that was super interesting. Myth is releasing works on 8Bidoo. I was telling you, I think 8Bidoo is going to make a comeback here, and it's coming back strong. It's such a great platform. It's such a great, and it's kind of, you can make works relatively quickly, but look at how complicated this. I love this work here, what is called Meeting of the Third Mito. Weblinks picked this up for 30. This is just a beautiful work, in my opinion, of this 8x8 8Bidoo. Really beautiful work, classic Myth work here. So let's reset that. What else? So we have a few here. You can buy one for 40 over here and buy another one for 125. I assume that's secondary. Yeah, Fort Gallery bought it and raised the price to 125. So another really nice work. Sabato released a work on 8Bidoo, a brand new one. So one of one. This was sent to someone in Avare, the gardener. So not sure what that's about, but more just, you're seeing more movement with 8 Badoo getting put on object, and you see Elby here just listing all his TVs for 5 Tezos now. They are 1 of 1, and there are 23 available. So you see there's some kind of a resurgence. Joe Rogan's dad did a couple of tribute pieces, one to Skycloak, Rat Cloaksy, who we discussed at the top of the program, and also another one to the myth, Sky Myth. So in the sky with clouds and this kind of pixelated and work. Do we have any information? Not really. 5400 by 5400. The Iron Eagle of Odessa. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Sky Myth. So interesting for the culture. More clouds. There's a lot of clouds in this episode. Empanada Dreaming by Rustic Digital Art. Interesting. And we've looked at Rustic Digital Art's work before. So this was just minted this morning. And you'll remember we looked at this piece here. So again, kind of like a bit more of a, contemporary art museum flavor, for lack of better words. You see how I am just trained to look at my notifications here. Another very nice work. This is by Santiago. Myth retweeted this, and I thought this was beautiful. What I like about Santiago's work is this has Vincent van Gogh pencil strokes written all over it, and he does it really nice. Cloud number 3. It's just, to me, it just screams like a Vincent van Gogh drawing. Maybe we can bring one up really quickly. Go drawing. Let's just see if anything looks like that. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, this is an older one, but I think a lot of you, it's almost like Dr. Guichet. Is that the name of the Dr. Guichet van Gogh? Yeah, very reminiscent of this, right? These brush strokes, and we go back to there's a similarity, at least for me. I see a very strong similarity in these kinds of brush strokes and Dr. Guichet. There are drawings that you can find, pen and ink by Van Gogh, this just screams that. So interesting work by Santiago, but it's not too derivative. It's not a direct kind of derivative thing. A couple of GloomTube sales over the weekend. This went to Joe Rogan's dad. Again, the tininess of this community is just makes it a lot of fun. 350 Tezos. So GloomTube, pretty good price. I guess was that an offer? I guess that was just on the market. So made some sort of deal for a 1 of 1. God Bless America. Great piece. Smiling God looking down on the gun store. America and more America here. And this, I believe, was purchased by Weblinks for 300. So you can see the market here. GloomTube 1 of 1's going for about 300. I don't know if they'll stay down there for much longer. A fireworks, I don't know, somewhere you can buy fireworks here outside, and some mud and some puddles. So America, the fireworks stand, that is what that is. So interesting market, and remember this self-checkout just sold for $27.50. So GloomTube's market is pretty healthy right now. Again, this 300, this JRD experience sold for 27, and finally another self-checkout for 23, pretty healthy. So now to some more uncomfortable questions, which we're going to get to. First, we're just going to look to some AI work here. Eros, c'est la vie. Remember we were talking about Duchamp and AI, Marcel Duchamp. Eros, c'est la vie is a Duchamp. For those that don't know, I'm sure most of you know that, but what was this, like a name? Marcel Duchamp's female alter ego, and I believe he signed some works. Where is it? It's Monday morning, folks. He signed, no, this is a different wordplay. The Mona Lisa. Yeah, see, Eros c'est la vie. Yeah, this is a different wordplay here that he did here. L-H-O-O-Q, which in French is elle a chaud au cul. She has a nice behind, is basically Duchamp's little wordplay here. So he likes wordplay, and if you look at some of the other works, I'm pretty sure Eros, so Eros is life, Eros c'est la vie. So that's the name here. So interesting reference when making AI work, this connection we were making earlier. So we looked at some of Danielle King's work before. We looked at these really interesting mashups here, and there are some more. So let's quickly look at those. Edgar Degas, I believe is how you pronounce it, Edgar Degas, and Vasily Kandinsky mashed up here. So just kind of interesting. We're seeing, again, this work is all coming out pretty quickly, raising concerns on my side from the collecting side of things. Edgar times Vasily, so more mashups. Here is Helen Frankenthaler times Paul Gauguin, so interesting mixes of artists here. So just, I don't want to bring judgment to this stuff. The reason I do a lot of AI work is because I want to learn. I want to figure out, I want us, whoever's watching this program, to be informed, to know, not from a bunch of textbooks, but from the works, what to think of AI and its daily occurrence. Like, look at how many new AI works are coming out every day, and new AI artists. And we got a brand new one by Sumi yesterday, another artist studio. Very nice work. Not sure who she's using. Here it's just DALL-E and Lightroom. Before, I think she had Procreate. So that's kind of interesting. I assume she was using Procreate for the touch-ups. Again, does this make it more pure, raw AI? Now this is bringing some more uncomfortable questions. So here we see a work that looks quite like a Strange Thing work, right? But this is a new artist, freaking hell. Kind of very similar in this, I almost want to call it like a Star Wars ninja type thing. And then, but instead of Nike, we have Tezos, but a pretty nice work, which raises questions. Back to this is, if you know the right word formulas and you have the right uploads or whatever, it's kind of back to, once you have your formula, is this back to pushing a button? Is the skepticism returning? As we see, because here's some pretty nice work by freaking hell. And what does it mean if Strange Things, style, let's say, is so easily replicated? And does this bring up, and is this a bad thing? Like with AI art, we're going to have to assume that copying, maybe that's just like par for the course. Like maybe that's going to be like, maybe this is so radical that a lot of our previous ideas of originality are going to be completely thrown out the window. Because let's not forget, even if we look at Strange Thing, who's maybe the first person we saw doing this style, and maybe there were other people before him doing that style. The first that I saw is all I can kind of speak for. But let's not forget, that's taking other paintings. So before we say, well, look at how super original Strange Thing is using whatever that is, Vermeer, Dutch oil paintings, Flemish, whatever that is. It's like, so this whole originality question is being raised here. Freaking hell came out of nowhere, really. Let's just look, 8 followers, 33 following, so very new. This could be a member of the community. And then we're back to the whole anonymity issue. This could be someone we all know who's decided, hey, I know how to make this too, and maybe I'm just going to create some anonymous account and maybe cash in on the craze. This stuff seems to be selling well. Or maybe it's just, I don't want to, maybe it's just a genuine artist and they're doing their style and that's that. I bring zero assumptions here, just all speculation because there's not much information to go on. And so, but, pretty interesting works. But you see, in a similar vein, and we saw Wasteman Goldminovich also mining this style. So interesting, right? Like, what are we to make of this? And further, how are we to value this? It's kind of back to this idea, like, and then all of a sudden a whole bunch of really kind of provocative, interesting artworks are made in a seemingly short time. Look at this piece by Wasteman Goldminovich. And this is less derivative, we could say, from The Strange Thing. This is more just, AI and traditional painting with people morphing into each other. So, I mean, look at the developments in the last 24 hours. Look at how fast this is moving, right? So I find this is one of the prettier and kind of more provocative and interesting AI works I've seen. And this just kind of, again, came out of nowhere here from Wasteman Goldminovich, Le Salon, AI art, elements of the past and future. So interesting, and we see this contrast of, these kind of tablets with people with traditional clothing and what looks like maybe people morphing into each other a little bit. Is that an Apple Pencil, or I don't know what's going on. There's some perhaps AI distortions. So what I wanted to show here, though, with Strange Thing was there was a development that we don't see, say, in the other two. Like, we do see this progression from people. You see the robes are early. Let's see how, this is August 25th, which feels like, it's a month ago. Today is September 26th. So you see how fast this moves in AI. And that, I think we have to say, is one of the qualities of AI, is it moves really fast. Like, artists can go from, interesting works like this. Very, sometimes this kills my mic loading up these images, so I want to be careful here. So this is pretty nice, but you see the development is where I'm going with this. From here to there, and there, and there, in these beautiful kind of, once you get the right uploads or whatever's going on here, the right words. I still haven't used DALL-E. I was going to use it this weekend, but you see just like rapid development and the rapid production of images. In a sense, all of this brings back a kind of a new skepticism, but it's not a strong skepticism, because when I look at this, I go, wow, this is beautiful work. And really, it's kind of back to this Duchamp thing of like, well, who cares how it was made? It's about the idea and the result. So interesting. So just wanted to point that out, because with Strange Thing, we do see a progression. And I guess the question I would ask, the provocative question, is, does that lend it more credibility because we see a progression? See the robes, and then we see this development and the kind of hitting the style. As we say, some works just hit, and then basically hitting the style in the last, 25 images, let's say. So who knows? Just provocative questions from your provocative friend over here. I just saw this and I thought it was something that just to be on top of. NFT novel, and you can actually flip through it. Everyone has their price, an NFT novel by Mark America. So someone put a novel out. They're selling it for $1,250. I assume, Mark America is selling for $1,250. So that is the mint price, I guess we could call it. So interesting. And Ralph Steadman is going to do a collaboration. We talked about Ralph Steadman, the classic counterculture hero who worked with Hunter Thompson on Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and in Rolling Stone, and now he is on Object and he is collaborating. So my big question immediately is this going to be a work on paper or a digital work? Because a Ralph Steadman digital work, if he's working with someone else, and it probably will be, to me, with my biases, is a little more exciting, even though the other was exciting, just to see him on board. But if it was a natively digital work, it makes it even more exciting. And just a quick shout out and thank you to Hologram Gallery for picking up Cloud, part of my 8-Bit Nature series. I'm excited about the 8Badoo thing going on too. And with that, thank you for joining me today. Until next time, take care.